Hello, Mike from Canavan Wealth. I was watching YouTube this weekend and came across an advertisement for kind of non-traditional financial services. To put it in the military term, it spun me up or annoyed me, which is very, very common when it comes to financial advertising. This particular one, I did a little investigating into. I actually don't have any problem with the actual product itself. I'm not endorsing it. I have not read these books. The first book is this Killing Sacred Cows by this particular author about overcoming the financial myths that are destroying your prosperity. It was a New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestseller. I'm not endorsing it, but this, he's pushing this, and then the follow-up book, which I think was what he was actually trying to sell, just recently released, is kind of Disrupting Sacred Cows, which is kind of his follow-up book, 14 years later. I think it is very interesting to note the timing of these two books. The first one was released right here in 2008 this is the global financial crisis. Doesn't look like it now, but it was back then. And, this is after what we often call the lost decade. So flat period in the S&P 500 lasted about 10 years. If you measure it in this very specific way, the S&P 500 was flat. Then he gives a follow-up book after the next 14 years, which is some of the best investment years in recent history. Last year included, right? And including the 2022 downturn that we're still really in the middle of here in January of 2023. So interesting timing that, we needed to kill them back then. Now we just need to disrupt them. Not endorsing the books, and I don't have any, to tell you the truth, you'll see some of the generalities I don't necessarily have a problem with. What I had a problem with is the way that it was advertised. And this is common when dealing with non-traditional investment approaches. I find the advertisements are predatory, fear-based, or radically overgeneralized because they're trying to sell some book or service in which they want everyone to buy it, right? And I think it does damage. There are a few others out there. The Power of Zero is another one that clients have asked me about. Again, I don't have any problems with the general premise of it. I think there's some really good information there. Not endorsing it by any stretch of the imagination. However, the fear around the way they advertise it is my problem with it. And that's very common in the conservative world. I will warn people who lean conservative, especially financially conservative, that they know who their audience is, and they will prey on your fear or perception about the future of the country or the economy or whatever it is to sell you some philosophy or some book. One of the things that kind of triggered me in this video was the idea that the ultra wealthy, I think was the term he used, but we can just simplify it to wealthy, invest their money differently than what his audience does, your average YouTube viewer, your average American, and kind of implying that if you invested the way they did, you would do better. I don't disagree. I completely agree that the wealthy invest their money differently. But I think the point that he missed, at least in the advertising, maybe he clarifies in his book, is that they earn their money a lot differently than you do. And because of that, it's, the way they exist financially is substantially different than your average American. So in order to, kind of go into the nuances of that, which is ultimately what the video is going to be about, let's first kind of classify what does it mean to be wealthy, because it may mean something different to me than it does to you. To me, if you're wealthy, you live substantially differently than, let's say, the middle class, which is probably even above what most people would consider upper class. Someone, to me, if you're wealthy, you've got 2 vacation homes and you fly first class. If we were to put a dollar figure on that, $10 to $30 million in net worth, right? You live substantially differently than the middle class. I certainly am not in that category. Many of my clients are not in that category. So how do you get there? What's the path to that? Because the path to wealthy, 10 to 30 million net worth, and the path to financial security are very different. And there's a really funny episode, or speech by Beth Dutton in the most recent season of Yellowstone, where she explains, I think, her 4 or 5 ways to become wealthy. And they're all very un-PC except one, which is really the path for everyone, which is to build a business in which to generate wealth. But it has to be a very specific business because, I often use the example of dentists. If a dentist wants to make more money, he's got 2 options. He can charge more money per tooth he inspects, or he can inspect more teeth. But there's a cap to both of those, right? There's only so much people are willing to pay for dental services, and there's only so many hours in the day. So I'm not attacking dentists, but if they want to generate true wealth, they have to break on past that, hire on other dentists, open a new location, franchise their brand, whatever that is. But then they're a business person. Their money they're making is not because they're a dentist, maybe because of the knowledge they've gained as a dentist, but they're really starting a business with employees and all sorts of overhead. And now the tools that will make them successful, they probably did not learn in dental school, right? They probably learned somewhere else. So that, much like working in corporate America and saving into an investment plan, is unlikely to get you to that 10 to 30 million in net worth. However, if you're looking for financial security, then that absolutely can be a path, right? Financial security, most people associate with there's some position that they would like to get to in their career, and they would like to live at that quality of life well after they retire, right? And financial investing, traditional investing, I think can do that job. So a lot of this is about managing expectations. If you want to become wealthy, investing in the S&P 500 is probably not going to get you there. You need to go above and beyond that. A lot of people, in the past, talk to me about real estate, right? They say, convince me to sell my real estate portfolio and invest. And I often say, well, do you want to continue to work your real estate, be a property manager? Because if you want to keep doing that, then your real estate portfolio may very well outperform a traditional investment, but it's a job, right? Managing a real estate portfolio, dealing with tenants and all of that is a job. So, can you build wealth with real estate? Absolutely. Absolutely. But, you have to go and do it, right? Whereas investing traditionally generally tends to be a passive activity. Also another, is kind of attack on traditional views. I don't disagree with the premise. There is a lot that our industry, I think, gets wrong, and that I think compliance is taking a while to get around to. One of those is risk. You specifically talked in this advertisement about the way people should view risk. And that's actually a topic of going to be my March webinar. I don't have the date nailed down yet, but that'll be out soon. However, it's not going to be overly generalized. That is going to be a nuanced talk about what we've learned over the last, kind of long-term financial history, and as well as short-term. Most importantly, how could we apply this to the next 10 years? So it's just this overgeneralized approach that I see advertising that really, frustrates me. So, in conclusion here, I just want to warn people that the way non-traditional investments advertise is often very fear-based, my opinion, predatory, overly generalized. It doesn't mean that there isn't good information there. And I encourage everyone to educate themselves as much as they want to on every topic they're interested in and make their own decisions. But there is no shortcut to becoming wealthy. There's also no shortcut to financial security. And the work has to be put in. But we have to use the right tool for the right job. If you want to become wealthy, I can only help you so much. If you want financial security, I think a flesh and blood financial advisor or traditional investing methods can do a lot of work there for you. I've been Mike from Canavan Wealth. I appreciate you listening to me here. I will have a couple of I have a webinar that's going to go up every month in which it's going to be kind of a 20-minute topic that I hope to finish in 20 minutes and then kind of leave a lot of time for discussion, kind of micro topics, if you will. So look for the schedule on that. And otherwise, thanks for listening. I will talk to you soon.